The Newshour Special Edition.
Mr. Ashraf, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you, first things first, the meeting is underway, sir, as we, begin this conversation. How do you see this?
Well, I think it's a very welcome development between India and China. I mean, we are two neighbors. China is a major power, India is emerging as another major power, and we have had a long history of disputes, conflicts, mistrust, geopolitical, regional and bilateral differences. So it's particularly important for countries then to remain engaged. Without engagement, you don't solve the problems. You're actually worse off. And I don't think that we should overemphasize the context, the present context of what President Trump is doing geopolitically, but also with regard to India. I think if you go back to 2014 when Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power, 2014 and 2015, and when I was then in the Prime Minister's office, as I was before, there was actually a genuine effort to try and stabilize the relationship, expand areas of cooperation. There have been ups and downs, there have been serious issues, but I don't think there has ever been a loss of sight that we must find opportunities to engage, to stabilize the relationship and to expand areas of opportunity, particularly it's very important as India seeks to pursue its 2047 vision, which requires both a high level of economic transformation, but also a very stable and peaceful periphery. And for this reason, I think this process is very important, and much more than the fact that we get into the specifics of issues like the boundary question or water or trade, is to discuss at length, and not just during this summit, how do we rebuild trust? How do we see whether our visions are aligned? Do we see each other's rise as fundamentally threatening to each other, or something that can reinforce each other's positions? Our geopolitical goals can have some degree of convergence, and all of this needs to be pursued not as an either-or situation. We should not, and I want to emphasize this, that there has been a degree of circular causality in our tensions. And this is because at one level, when China sees that, the optics of our deepening engagement with the United States and with the Western powers, with Quad partners, then it gets a sense of anxiety. And the more we've had our tensions with China on the border and elsewhere, the more we have deepened our engagement with the West. So how do we, and irrespective of what we are going through at the moment with the United States, I mean, that's a relationship that also is got a deep roots. It has been built over 25 years across successive administrations. We've just had an excellent visit to Japan. So I think we don't have to get into this either-or situation, or see this summit, as some of the media is doing, as a sort of a summit on a rebound from a U.S. rebuff. I mean, we would be getting into another kind of a trap, as I think.
No, you're right. You're right, Ambassador Ashraf. It may be the case with, other media, but we are in no position to see this in that light. You're absolutely spot on. It should not be seen in that light. In fact, from this morning, I've been emphasizing that point, that it is not an either-or situation. But, sir, please allow me to ask you this, as someone who's worked very closely with Prime Minister Modi. You were ambassador to France, you've dealt very closely with the US, you've dealt with Washington during the Day incident. I'll come to all of that. But Wong Yi was here before this meeting. For viewers who are watching this broadcast, what would you tell them? What is the kind of groundwork which is prepared before a summit of this kind? Like when Prime Minister is going to another country to have a meeting with Xi Jinping in this case, what are the things that diplomats do or the government does to ease out tensions or to, I hope you get the drift of what I want to ask.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. First of all, I think that the process of re-engagement began in October last year in Kazan, and I think that should not be lost sight of. Post-Galvan, there has been a continuous process of dialogue both at the military and the diplomatic level. After a period of time, we have seen some de-escalation and disengagement, and then Kazan began a process. When Foreign Minister Wang Yi came, you saw that it was also preceded by, the resumption of Mansarovar Yatra, which is hugely symbolic and sentimental for India. We've also eased the visa conditions. There is a gradual process of easing that the temperature has come down. When Foreign Minister Wang Yi came to personally extend that invitation to the Prime Minister to attend the SCO, there were some very significant outcomes. And I think that I would say that those outcomes, particularly with regard to the boundary question, were the first since 2013, or even before that. So when we are talking of expert group on delimitation in the boundary question, or better management, or peace and tranquility, or these are well thought out. And remember, you've had the visit of NSA, Mr. Ajit Doval, who's also the special representative for boundary talks. We've had the visit of External Affairs Minister. And so this is a step-by-step process. When you have a summit like this, I think one is that you don't go with the sense of naive illusions about what you're going to achieve in any summit. Anyone who does that will obviously be setting up the Prime Minister or the leader for failure. So you try to work out on concrete steps that can help rebuild trust and can ease tensions between the two countries. And I think the outcomes that we had during Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit was in a way an indicator, not a settlement, an indicator that the two sides are willing to address some of the most pressing issues with regard to the peace and tranquility on the border and the long pending issue of peace and tranquility. Remember, this has been cast in the context of the 2005 agreement on political parameters and agreed principles. So this is a with a long-term view. So I think the preparation has been very sound. It has been kept not overhyped, but when Foreign Minister Wang Yi came and the decisions that were taken, it is indicative of seriousness on both sides to see if it is possible to address these issues. Now, very often we've had that in the past, that we've had moments of great optimism and hope in the relationship. 2014 Ahmedabad, 2015 Shanghai and Beijing, and before that, during Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's time with the Wenjiabao Hu Jintao regime, we've had some very good moments of positive. But sometimes then we end up in a situation where there are conflicts either on the border, or we have some sort of a geopolitical difference, or we see that China is trying to prevent India's rise, or cooperation with Pakistan, inroads into other neighboring countries. We have to not respond in a yo-yo fashion. We've got to keep that patience and the lines of communications open. Patience, without any sense of illusion, is the best way to move forward. China plays a very long game. We, of course, are driven by democratic cycles, but we also see a great deal of continuity, if I may say so, in the broad directions of foreign policy with regard to China. And therefore, I think we should also maintain that sense of patience, sense of stability, and the capacity to absorb the occasional shocks in the relationship to keep the dialogue process forward. India's rise, I think, is predicated fundamentally on finding solutions to its problems in the neighborhood and creating an environment of a peaceful, stable, and a predictable periphery that allows us to focus more closely on the economic transformation and on engagements with the rest of the world.